This came from Jagannath?
Sì, è Balaram, maar ik heb wel ik kan hem toch niet zien.
Dat is gedacht.
Dat zijn bakjes gedaan, je moet gezien worden. Maar jij, de moed van service, en je had een voornemen om daarvoor te waarschuwen, dus je was goed bezig.
Maar waarom gebeurt dit nu? Ik wil Jagannath zingen en ik zing het niet. En dan valt dat in me in. Hij wil wel worden gezien. Volgens mij wil hij wel worden gezien.
Nee, maar hij wordt gezien. Weet je dan niet dat Krishna, dat je daarmee Jagannath kan aanroepen? Dat hoor je natuurlijk.
Maar waarom gooit Balaram dan niet zo stik naar beneden?
Nee, dat stond al schuin. En dit is gewoon, kunnen jullie eens wat zachter zijn? Dat is wat hij wil.
Nou, ik denk niet. De mantras die laat leren, dat de Yatra deed is.
Zeg het even.
Balaram heeft een club gegooid.
Hoi, hij heeft bijna ons geraakt.
He wanted to beat me.
He almost hit us.
So, okay, we can first chant around.
Hij speelt mooi, hè?
Ja.
Thank you for the research.
Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Radha Madhava Kunda Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Rajajana Randana Yasodanandana Rajajana Randana Yasodanandana Braja Janarandana Yasodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamunatira Vanacharya Yamunatira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janarandana Yasodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Janavallabha Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Damunatira Vanachari Damunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Srila Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Ki Jai Gaura Premanandi. Reading of the glorious pastimes of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Ki Jai.
I want to stay, but I want also to chant more rounds. So
You stay and then you chant more rounds.
no, then I cannot reach my quote.
Intimate pastimes from the Belgian Yatra. Chapter 7, Chant Hare Krishna and Fight. The title of the chapter indicates that it may be an easy process, but the battle is fierce. The battle against Maya. We're in Bombay, January 9, 1977. Srila Prabhupada started his morning walk before dawn, and he and the devotees knew their way very well through Hare Krishna land to the public road. And once off the property, they turned left and then right and began walking down the block leading to the beach. The sky began to lighten. At first, they could not visibly distinguish land from sea from sky. But gradually, subtle nuances of color revealed the horizon, and they could see the vast plain of the Arabian Sea stretching to meet the even greater sea of sky, where last stars twinkled and faded. As Prabhupada and his small group walked along the broad beach, they were flanked on their left by a line of leaning palms and to their right by rumbling surf. Srila Prabhupada wore a grey woolen chadar around his shoulders and saffron silk kurta and dhoti, and peach-colored canvas shoes. He used a cane, leaning not heavily on it, but lightly. With each brisk step, he would point the cane ahead, poking it into the sand and lifting it again, rhythmically marking the pace. He walked directly and held his head high. You know, that Srila Prabhupada always walks like that, you know, like an aristocrat, like a king, you know. Very grave, very grave. Deep, Guru means deep, very grave. Beautiful to see. Full of self-confidence, you know, not afraid of anybody. Where's the fight? I'm ready. That's what he's saying, you know. Bodily language, you know that? The communication between people, I still found it very outstanding. But it is said that that's another. For 80% of your communication is through the body, not through the voice. Just by the way the body is moving, you know, can tell you so much. A long line of Bombaites, many of them wealthy Juhu residents, on their morning stroll appeared. And a few coconut dwellers set up their carts, cutting off the tops of choice coconuts in anticipation of their first customers. Srila Prabhupada liked to walk at this time of morning, and weather permitting, he would do so no matter where he was in the world. Juhu Beach, however, was one of his favorite places to walk. Along the way, and his disciples were joined by Dr. Patel in white shirt and pants, and several of his friends, mostly doctors and lawyers. Srila Prabhupada had been silent, but now he began to speak. How everything is nice, Srila Prabhupada commented, gesturing toward the beach before him. See the sky, how clear and how nice by Krishna. Purnamidam. With his cane he indicated the tall, graceful palm trees. The tree is called Vriksha, he said. The Vriksha Yoni, or birth as a tree, is condemned. By Krishna's arrangement, however, the Vrikshas are also very nicely set up. It becomes beautiful. They are all representatives of Krishna, said Dr. Patel. This is perfect. Purnam, said Srila Prabhupada, quoting Isopanishad. Purnamidam Purnamadha. Just as the rising sun illumines everything, Srila Prabhupada discoursed, speaking against the atheistic notion that the complex material creation has no creator. God's creation, said Srila Prabhupada, is perfect and complete because it comes from Him who is Purnam, perfect and complete. Adantarastha Paramanu Chayantarastham Govinam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Paramanu means smaller than the atom. 6 Paramanus make 1 Anu. That is the atomic dimensions. Does this remind you of something? The soul is called Anu. So Anu means 6 Paramanus make 1 Anu. That is the atomic dimension. You combine 6 Paramanus, so in that Paramanu also the Lord is there. He made it, said Dr. Patel, and then he entered into it. That is what the Vedas say. Yes, said Srila Prabhupada. The Paramatma is there. The whole human life is meant for understanding all this and glorifying the Lord. And they are wasting their lives by imitating the hawk. Prabhupada again fell silent, except for softly uttering the Hare Krishna mantra. I don't think there is one moment that Srila Prabhupada is not chanting. Now the beach was light, and many people, out in their morning walks or runs, greeted Srila Prabhupada as they passed. The greetings were always words of respect, or at last, good morning. And Srila Prabhupada's response was usually Hare Krishna. Suddenly, Srila Prabhupada again began to speak. There is a big conspiracy against us. By the church, guessed Dr. Patel. Not by the church, said Srila Prabhupada, by the society. Prabhupada uttered a thoughtful and then he added, now they are determined to cut down this movement. He didn't give any details, and neither Dr. Patel nor the others could fully draw out what was on his mind. Whatever it was, said Dr. Patel, no conspiracy against Krishna consciousness could take place in India. I wanted to start this movement in India, Prabhupada replied. I requested so many friends, give me just one son, but nobody agreed. They said, Swamiji, what will be the benefit by this if I make my son a Vaishnava or a Brahmana? They do not give much importance to the movement. They are planning how to stop this movement in so many ways. Always a faithful Indophile, Dr. Patel replied. The Americans are like that, always making propaganda. There is good and there is bad in every place, said Srila Prabhupada. Krishna says, Manushyanam Sahasresu. Out of thousands of persons, hardly anyone is interested in perfecting his life. This is Kali Yuga. They walked on, and Srila Prabhupada said no more about it, speaking instead of materialistic household life, in which the chief pleasure is sex. Beyond this abominable sex pleasure, he said, was the full satisfaction of spiritual life. For karmics, this is the highest pleasure. And maybe when we're young and when we're in Maya, when we're attached to sense gratification, we also think, oh, sex is very enjoyable. But once you taste spiritual life, then definitely you can say and feel that sex pleasure is abominable compared to the real ruchi, the real taste of spiritual life. Prabhupada walked for half an hour and then he turned around and began walking back, wanting to return to the temple by 7, just in time to greet the deities. Some of the others were flagging from the brisk pace, but Srila Prabhupada strode on, his golden new face triumphant in self-realization. You see, again, triumphant in self-realization, and Prabhupada is strolling on. I remember walking with Srila Prabhupada. You're amazed, you know, what's he doing? Why is he walking so fast? He hardly could keep up, you know. Very strange. Prabhupada began talking about the importance of satsanga, association with devotees. And Dr. Patel could, instead of doing satsanga, people go to Kumbh Mela. He laughed, as if it were a good joke. But Prabhupada corrected him. No, he said, Kumbh Mela is satsanga. If you go to Kumbh Mela to find a man of knowledge, then your Kumbh Mela is right. Otherwise, Jatirtha Buddhi Salile, Na Karhi Chit Saiva Gokara. If one thinks that this is Salila, the water just to take bath in the water is Kumbh Mela, then he's Gokara, a cow or an ass. But if he thinks, now there is an assembly of so many saintly persons, let me take advantage of their knowledge, then he is intelligence. Ever since Prabhupada had arrived in Bombay, he had been questions about the upcoming Kumbh Mela at Allahabad. The Maha Mela occurred every year, but according to astrological calculations, a more auspicious occasion came every 12 years. Kumbh Mela. And every 12th Kumbh Mela, an event that occurred only in 144 years, was especially auspicious. This year, 1977, was to be such a Mela, and the government was predicting an attendance of 12 million at the confluence of the holy rivers near Allahabad. Srila Prabhupada had said he would go. 12 million peoples. 12 million. So, sir, said Dr. Patel, you're going by train to the Kumbh Mela? Srila Prabhupada replied that he liked the train, but Dr. Patel said it was no good for health and that it would be a very long ordeal. He also warned Srila Prabhupada that Allahabad would be very cold and if Prabhupada wanted to leave the Mela early, he would find it very difficult because of the crowds. "I'll get one of my friends to get me some water from Allahabad on that day," laughed Dr. Patel. "I'll take my bath here." Dr. Patel's friends also mentioned the difficulties of extreme weather and crowds of Allahabad during the Mela. Srila Prabhupada, however, was not swayed. He was well acquainted with Allahabad, having lived there with his family from 1923 to 1936.
But not on the banks of the Ganges.
Eh?
But that was not on the banks of the Ganges.
No, but near, huh? Near Allahabad. He was well acquainted, yeah. It doesn't mean he has to live there, but he was knowing very good how.
Dr. Patel was so right. Srila Prabhupada became very ill.
In 1925, said Prabhupada, I went to the Mela. I remember I was touching the water and it was so pinching that it was cutting our body. But as soon as you actually get a dip, 1, 2, 3, then you immediately come out and it's all right. Prabhupada mentioned that in 1928 Mela, when he was carrying his young child, I was in the midst of the crowd, he recalled. It was so big that I was afraid that if there was any rush, this child may be finished. But, by the grace of Krishna, nothing happened. What is the reason for the Mela? Asked Srila Prabhupada to his servant, Hari Sauri. Is it something about some drops of nectar from the Mohini Murti? It is actually a religious conference, Prabhupada replied. All the different groups gather in that holy place and they propagate their philosophy there. India is a country of religion. They know spiritual life is more important than this material life. That is India. Now they are diverting their attention to the material. Otherwise, the whole of India is for spiritual life. About 5 minutes before 7, Srila Prabhupada left the beach and walked back to the Hare Krishna land. As he approached, he saw the massive 2-story towers of the ISKCON Hotel and the 7 taller and grander temple domes. The buildings, however, were unfinished. The temple domes had to be covered with white marble, and all the building needed numerous finishing touches. Prabhupada was anxiously anticipating the opening, but Surabi Maharaj spoke of delays. The opening date therefore remained indefinite. Delays had been routine ever since Prabhupada had first tried to purchase the Yuhu land from Mr. N in 1971, and obstacles had plagued all his attempts to build. Now, the triumph of installing the deities of Radharasa Vihari in one of the most gorgeous temples in India was near. Radharasa Vihari were still being worshipped in the temporary shelter the devotees had erected in 1971. But as Prabhupada approached, he could see the magnificent temple structure looming behind that humble shed, proclaiming that soon Rasa Vihari would move into his palace. Krishna was blessing the faithful work of Srila Prabhupada. Pushing his movement ahead in all fronts, he would regularly return to Bombay. He more clearly than his disciples could see when the workers were delaying or even cheating. This time, as before, he would stay for a while, giving advice and then move on. On returning to the ISKCON property, Srila Prabhupada came before the deities and beheld once again the charming beauty that made him sometimes indicate that of all deities, these were the dearest to him. His promise to Radharasa Vihari that he would build them a beautiful temple was soon to become a living reality. But he sometimes expressed doubt as to whether he would live to see it. He was now 81 and was bothered by certain persistent illnesses. Of course, the warnings of death were nothing new to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Ki Jai. As he had serious bouts with illness from the beginning of his preaching in the West. Yet despite his frequent remarks about retiring, his disciples found it difficult to imagine. Yes, they should by all means complete the work as soon as possible and open the Bombay temple. And yes, they should assure Prabhupada that he could retire and eventually complete his Srimad Bhagavatam. But of course, Krishna would allow him to remain with them and see the completion of at least 2 projects. Each month, one of Srila Prabhupada's GBC men stayed with him to serve as a secretary and to receive direct training and personal association. The secretary for January 1977 was Rameshwara Swami. Prabhupada was benignly pleased and enlivened when, early in the morning, Rameshwara entered his room, having flown straight from Los Angeles to Bombay. Prabhupada considers Rameshwara an expert ISKCON manager, especially in printing and distributing Krishna-conscious literature, which was Srila Prabhupada's priority in preaching. Rameshwara Swami inquired as a humble servant before his spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada, he said, "You look well. And you're feeling well?" Srila Prabhupada laughed. "At the present moment, I'm feeling well because you're here." Within moments, they were discussing ISKCON preaching and management, and Prabhupada advised Rameshwara that the best policy was to use money for printing more books. As soon as money accumulated, Prabhupada warned, it would be taxed and would cause headaches. Better to immediately spend it for printing books. Print books and sell and spend, Srila Prabhupada said. Follow this policy and distribute these books. That is our main preaching. Some way or other, we must take our books door to door and distribute. Then our preaching is successful. Anyone who will read will get some benefit, that is sure. Because no other such literature is available through the whole world. This is a new revolution to the people in general. Even the voters don't always be aware of this. Is never seen before that the authoritative, authentic Vedic literature as it is available in the world. I remember when I started yoga, there were just a few books, speculative books in English languages, 1 or 2. In Holland there was one company starting to propagate spiritual life in general, Ankes Hermes. They were the first to publish yoga literature in Dutch language. There were just a few books, and now all over the world, never seen before. When Srila Prabhupada asked news of ISKCON's activities in the West, Rameshwara gave the latest details of how Krishna consciousness movement in America was being attacked in the courts and press as a psychological, dangerous brainwashing cult. Yeah, those were the days. Even in Barvo, a big meeting was organized, and it was a hall bigger than the new Prasanam hall. It was completely packed with people. And there was this anti-cult, anti-sect movement. They invited different people to speak about it. I remember well, that was the mood in those days.
Yesterday in the movie we saw the lawyer, Amarendra Prabhu, and when he reported that after 6 months they had won that court case, Srila Prabhupada was very happy. He had said, give him all our books as evidence that it's bona fide.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada had said, and they won it after 6 months.
He said several times, all publicity is good publicity. We will prove them wrong. They don't understand yet, but fine. Just have to see here that 40 years ago, there was, for example, Monsieur Rosy. He was living in very nearby St. Louis. And he came to visit Radhadesh. He was taking prasad with his wife. But after a while, more and more, he got into, why the devotees, you don't like Mozart? How can you say you're a cultural movement? You don't like Bach and Mozart. And more he got critic. And then, one way or another, he was envious. I don't know what went wrong, but he became anti-sect movement. And then when, as I said, in Barvaux, they organized a big meeting, which was set up by the father of a boy who lost his life in a macrobiotic movement. And macrobiotics was also a sect. So this man was very disturbed, and he set up this meeting. Monsieur Rosy all of a sudden went on the stage also, and he said, I'm an insider, I know everything about these Hare Krishnas. And he went very much against. Unfortunately, at that time, there was not many actually there were no devotees who spoke the French language, so we couldn't defend ourselves. That was very painful. But as you see, and the people, there was lots of people in the audience, because they were afraid, that if you don't know anything, you're always afraid of the unknown. And they were thinking, it's something new, we don't understand, they're vegetarian. We were not favored for that, for sure. But they thought we were going to take over the place, the village, and the surroundings. So they were in anxiety. But as you see now, when Mahaprabhu is organizing every year an exhibition, 5
Politicians.
No, you're not politicians? Ambassadors, sorry.
Ambassadors.
Yeah. And an ambassador, he has to ask permission at the king. He's not allowed to come to a party of the Hells Angels. That would damage the image. But they're arriving here because everybody in general, and especially people who are a little bit inclined towards spirituality, everybody by now knows Hare Krishna is not a sect. Hare Krishna is not a cult. It's the oldest religion there is. And of course, people in general, that's the mass of people, it's always like that. They're hanging in front of the TV and they're living very at the surface. But everybody who's more inclined towards spirituality knows Hare Krishna is authoritative. So things changed in our favor.
That time it was not to our credit that nobody spoke French, right?
No.
That makes it a sect.
Yeah. People were very concerned. An anti-cult movement was now aggressively active in humping on the Hare Krishna movement with other new movements. Srila Prabhupada was well aware of the deprogrammers kidnapping of devotees and intensively coercing them. At that time we had a devotee here, a very sweet Damodar. You remember Damodar? A very young boy from Ireland. Very, very sweet. And in Ireland they're very strongly Catholic. Or is it Protestant? One of the two. Anyway.
You have both.
You have both, eh? But what happened is that his mother was so flipped and freaked out that they sent a priest from Ireland coming over to Radhadesh to deprogram the boy. Yes. Especially he came over, can you imagine, because the family was completely freaked out. Oh, our boy is in the hands of a dangerous sect. It's amazing. So it's very common these days in the beginning. Let's see. Srila Prabhupada had shown that he was not intimidated by the attack. He assured the devotees that Krishna would protect them and that the outcome would ultimately be in their favor. Srila Prabhupada is like Krishna, he knows past, present and future. The most significant battle one that had concerned Srila Prabhupada for several months, was a legal case in New York where the temple president Adikesava Swami was being charged with employing mind control to keep the devotees in the temple. The parents of 2 adult devotees had pressed charge and after hired deprogrammers had failed to break the 2 devotees' determination for Krishna consciousness. In a spirit of anti-cult crusade, an assistant attorney general was prosecuting using all legal and governmental facilities at his disposal. Although civil libertarians were outraged and assured the devotees that the opposition could never win, the implications of the case were fearful nevertheless. The case challenged the very right of the Hare Krishna movement to exist as a bona fide religion and challenged the right of adult devotees to remain in the movement against the wishes of their parents. So they're really trying, on all sides. Parents, government.
It's interesting. Is it only minor children, or maybe also?
No, the last sentence here. The case challenged the very right of the Hare Krishna movement to exist as a bona fide religion and challenged the right of adult devotees to remain in the movement against the wishes of their parents. I'm 80 years, Daddy. It's amazing. Also at issue was whether members of the Hare Krishna movement were members by their own choosing or were being kept in the movement by psychological manipulation, brainwashing. When Srila Prabhupada had first heard of this case, his reply in a letter from Vrindavan has been like a clarion call to battle against the forces of illusion. Now this is Srila Prabhupada's letter. Regarding the point about whether our movement is bona fide, you can use the following arguments. Bhagavad Gita has got so many editions. Our books are older than the Bible, and in India there are millions of Krishna temples. Let judges and juries read our books and take the opinion of learned scholars and professors. Regarding the second point about the parents' jurisdiction over their children, here are some suggestions. Do the parents like that their children become hippies? Why don't they stop it? Do the parents like their children to become involved in prostitution and intoxication? Why they don't stop this? They are now feeling the weight of this movement. Formerly they thought, these people come and go. But now they see, we are staying. Now we have set fire. That's nice. Now we have set fire. Yeah. It will go on. It cannot be stopped. You can bring big fire brigades, but the fire will act. The brainwash books are already out. Even if that's Prabhupada's, saying, get in like a needle and come out as a rhino. You started with very few devotees, very few centers, but the fire is set. Now you see the fire is spreading. It's not possible to stop it. Even if they stop externally, internally it will go on. Our first-class campaign is book distribution. Go house to house. The real fighting is now. Krishna will give you all protection. So chant Hare Krishna and fight. Sitting with Srila Prabhupada in Bombay, Rameswara Swami informed him that a nationwide committee of professors and theologians had come to the defense of Krishna consciousness in the New York case and that many lawyers and psychologists were sympathetic. It is so much mercy from Krishna, said Srila Prabhupada. Krishna wanted all these things to happen. Let's not forget that. For me, Krishna consciousness, life actually is very simple. If you simply know that Krishna in Guru Sadhu Sastra says Krishna is the supreme controller. That's all you have to know. Supreme. Supreme means everything is included. Whatever happens, Krishna knows about it. Krishna arranges it. Supreme. It's so simple, supreme, simple and supreme. Krishna himself became important when he killed so many demons, not simply by lying down in the lap of Mother Yasoda. When he was on the lap of Mother Yasoda, from that day he began to kill. Therefore Krishna established that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Imagine these big demons, you know. If we would see a big demon like that these days, we would, dirty our pants. We cannot imagine. But Krishna, like that. So, and then, why should we be afraid of any demon? We won't call any names right now, but why should we be afraid of what's happening in the world? The demonic forces are trying to, lord it over, but that's nothing new. And Krishna, arranging everything, he will arrange that the devotees will succeed, that this movement will go on. Right now we're in the golden age of Kali Yuga, 10,000 years. The devotees will take over. So the last struggle is happening right now, these days. Demons are infiltrating, poisoning the sky, poisoning the water, poisoning the minds of the young children with their technological advancement. That's their last before they get destroyed. We don't have to be afraid. Krishna is in control. Prahlada Maharaja was not exempted. As soon as you speak of God, this opposition will come. Yeah. Jesus Christ, he was crucified. They are so kind that they have not crucified me or my men. But you have to expect all these things. Nityananda Prabhu was personally injured. Haridas Thakur was beaten in 22 bazaars. This task is like that. They are getting everyone in America to ask the question, what is Hare Krishna, said Ramasvara. That is our gain, Prabhupada said. They're chanting Hare Krishna. We still have to work hard to defeat them, Ramesvara added. Oh yes, said Prabhupada. That is necessary. I don't remember who said it, but the challenge is there to rise to the challenge. And if there's no challenge, no. It was like you have to go out and preach, because if you don't preach, there's no challenge. And if there's no challenge, you cannot grow. That is necessary. You don't sleep. Never did Krishna say to Arjuna, I'm your friend, I'm God, you sleep here. I'll do everything. No, you must fight. That is wanted, Krishna said. You fight and remember me, then I'll do everything. So this is an opportunity of remembering Krishna always. Prabhupada explained that the greatest shock for the materialist was that the Krishna conscious movement strongly opposed illicit sex, meat eating and intoxication. To them, for a person to give up these things was so shocking that they could not accept it. Referring to a previous case, Prabhupada said, in Germany they also accused that the old man is sitting in Los Angeles and he has engaged all these boys in collecting money for him. They're thinking that way, that I have some mind control power. Yeah, yes, but... yes, but in a positive sense. Yeah, you see, that's another perfect example. If you put on glasses, monocles with yellow glasses, you see everything is yellow. So they see through their mind with the wrong mindset, so they think like that. He's controlling them, he wants them to collect money for himself, because that's the way they are thinking and seeing. They're thinking that way. Okay. Srila Prabhupada recalled how, as early as 1969, when his temple in Los Angeles had purchased a few cars and the number of devotees had begun increasing, the neighbors had become envious. Prabhupada said that he had invited them to also come and live in the Krishna conscious community, but that their reply had always been no. Prabhupada said that the more the opposition created turmoil, the more Krishna conscious would become famous. He also reasoned that people were reacting to his very strong preaching. That you can also see that other so-called gurus, when their preaching is not strong, when they say, oh, free love, love and peace, you all join together, love together. When they're not against sex and intoxication, then these gurus, they collect enormous following. They got many, many, many disciples. But usually it doesn't take long before you don't hear of them anymore. Srila Prabhupada is different. He has strong preaching. According to the bona fide tradition, no sex, no intoxication, no drinking, no gambling, so people are opposed. But the result is that we're here to stay. We grow steadily, this will not go away. As we know, material sense gratification in the beginning, it's very enjoyable, but after a while the taste vanishes and goes and becomes very boring, it's not palatable anymore. And spiritual enjoyment is completely the opposite. In the beginning it may be a little painful and austere, but if you are determined, gradually it becomes more and more anandam buddhivardhanam. It's like an ocean which is ever increasing, doesn't stop. That's spiritual. So he also reasoned that people were reacting to his very strong preaching. I condemn everyone, he said, that they are all dogs and hogs. You see, if you're not deeply rooted in spirituality, you're afraid of speaking like that. You speak of the flowery language of the Vedas. Oh, it's all peace and love and this and that. Srila Prabhupada says, you're dogs and hogs. Paraf, wake up, Judago. It is a fact. Hoe zeg je dat? Zachte heelmeesters maken stinkende wonden. I don't know in English, sorry.
Yes, surgeons who are too soft, they will leave wounds that are very stinky.
Yeah. And in Chicago I said, all women, you cannot have freedom. So I became a subject of great criticism. See? When you say what the people like, oh, you're a good guy, you have a lot of followers. But you smash their dreams, ooh, look at them, look at them, these Hare Krishnas. How are they walking around, orange clothes, shaved head? They're crazy, don't take them serious. That's the first reaction. Srila Prabhupada concluded his meeting with Rameshvara by saying that the devotees should be very alert and intelligently defend the Krishna conscious movement. But they should also understand that the higher principle was operating. This opposition indicated the genuineness of ISKCON. Even Krishna himself was sometimes the center of calamitous activities, such as when he fought with Kaliya and other enemies, or when, as an infant, he fell into the Yamuna river. This is the beauty of Vrindavan, said Srila Prabhupada. When Krishna entered the Yamuna to fight with Kaliya, it was not at all good news for Mother Yasoda, Nanda, the friends of the family. Not at all. Their life was lost, but still Krishna was the center. That is Vrindavan. In everything, Krishna is in the center. So our situation is just like that. They are making bad propaganda against Krishna. This is the opposition. But I'm happy that Krishna is the center. That's all. This is the beauty of this movement. Although we are put into some difficulty, yet the center is Krishna. Now that's a beautiful meditation, isn't it? It's a beautiful, whatever happens outside. Matraspasastu kantya sitosna sukha dukkada. It is all due to our identifying with matraspasa, with the material senses, that we think something is good and something is bad. A devotee starts seeing whatever happened. If I keep Krishna in the center, it's all good. It may appear as pleasant or unpleasant, it may even appear as opposite. Still, if Krishna is the center, it's make me stronger. And it is good. Early on the morning of January 11, Srila Prabhupada embarked on the 24-hour plus train ride from Bombay to Allahabad. He was sharing his first-class compartment with Rameswara Swami, Jagadisa, and Hari Sauri. And even as the train pulled out of the station, Prabhupada was preaching. Rameswara mentioned a radio show he had recently been on in California, where a Lutheran minister had said Krishna was a sex symbol. I never heard that. Krishna was a sex symbol, because he had so many wives and gopis. Oh my goodness. Even taking it that Krishna is after sex, says Srila Prabhupada, then if sex is bad, why are they after sex? He says that sex is not for God, Rameswara replied. Prabhupada was sitting on one side of the compartment and his disciples sat facing off him. The loud rattling of the train cars on the rails made conversation sometimes difficult. If sex is not there in God, said Prabhupada, then how it has come? God created everything, so God did not create sex? Srila Prabhupada explained that sex exists both in the material world and in the spiritual. Material sex enjoyment being a perversion of the original, pure sex that exists in the Supreme. Krishna's sexual enjoyment, therefore, is not at all like material sex. It is exactly the opposite, in fact, inasmuch as the reality is the opposite of its reflection. You do not understand how to face the opposing party, said Srila Prabhupada. He was in an animated, argumentative mood, enthusiastically showing to his disciples how to defeat the opposition. He had sometimes described his own spiritual master as Simha, lion guru, and then now saw him in a similar fighting spirit. The more opposition there will be, he said, the more we have to defend. Srila Prabhupada, Rameswara asked, should we be thinking in our minds that one day the Krishna conscious movement will have to manage the cities and the nations of the world? Hold on. Oh yes, Srila Prabhupada replied. I'm always aware of how neophyte we are. We're living in this beautiful community, but imagine tomorrow, let's say there is 100 Islam youngsters coming in. What will be our reaction? First of all, or if 10,000 people coming to Radhadesh, what will we do? We will flip out completely. We are not able to manage that. We cannot handle that. So how far away? We easily say, oh yes, it is predicted, we will take over the world. Yeah, but I always remember, even before I was a devotee, I had a book about a world-famed economist, Schumacher. In that book it was stated that whenever you want to implement a new idea into an existing structure in society as it is, if you want to implement Krishna consciousness, a new idea, that will take 3 till 4 generations. So it's not that we go out and preach with this, it works, all of a sudden, things are happening, the world is changing. Take at least 3 to 4 generations at least. So if we're sincere in what we're doing, then gradually 4 more generations this will spread. So as Srila Prabhupada said before, it spreads automatically. Even if externally you don't see it, internally it will spread. And I also remember a lecture of Visvambar, the French Visvambar, who was sannyasi from France. He used the example that the river sometimes is very broad, and kilometers further away the river is very small. And kilometers further away, altogether the river disappears, goes underground. for many miles and you don't see the river. But then all of a sudden the river is coming up again. So in the same way, Krishna is here to stay. Point. Point, no discussion possible. Whether it will be exteriorly big or small, that's temporary, that's a phase in the history of Krishna consciousness. Eventually, we will take over the world. So I'm going to stop here. By saying over and over and over again, all glories to the divine spiritual master of the universe, Jagat Guru, His Divine Grace, Srimad Prabhupada, Patita Pavana, Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande. No, this is the